Today in Project Blue, we're covering Vynnset. So for those who are unfamiliar with the hero, it's a Shadow Runeblade, and it has a very simple ability. At the start of your turn, you have to banish a card. And when you banish a card, you're going to make a rune chant token. Very simple way to understand this. If you have one card in hand, you get 0 cards in hand at the start of your turn, basically. So you're always down 1 card. You're going to be making a rune chant every single turn off of this ability, but you're always losing a card from hand. So to jump ahead, and for people who are familiar with how she plays, we can leverage this to our benefit with cards like Blood Debt that can be played from the banish, or cards with Rune Gate that can also be played from the banish. So the downside turns into an upside. She also has a secondary ability where if you play a Shadow non-attack action card, you can pay a life, and then if you do the next rune chant that would deal damage is unpreventable, so they can't arcane barrier it. This is going to be relevant for a couple effects that care about how many players lost life during the turn. So if you make an unpreventable rune chant and pay a life to do it, on some cards you'll get a really good benefit out of that because your opponent will have to take damage and you will also take damage. So to jump into the list, this is a very technical deck. It can be very explosive, but I think it's very hard to play. Even myself, it's going to take a lot of reps. I didn't really play her a whole lot in CC, but I do have some experience with her. We're trying to translate that here into Project Blue. So to run through the equipment suite very quickly, we have Sutcliffe, Suede Hides. This will let you go 3 rune gates in a turn if you really need to. This just gets you go again, which is very important for Vynnset. Think about playing creepers in her in CC. Runehold Release is basically like Vexing Quillhand, but -1 rune chant. You can just make a rune chant whenever you want. This is relevant when you need to break a threshold for some of the rune gate cards. Flail of Agony is just her best in slot. Basically, you're going to pay a life, and if it hits, you make a rune chant. This is relevant for a multitude of reasons that we'll get into. Your offhand can be the Oval, since the flail is a one-handed weapon. You have Ebonfold to kind of help you pressure a lot of damage, get cards into banish, redraw a card. She wants to play cards out of banish, so getting them in there sometimes is helpful. I just couldn't find a better headpiece. And then the Bodice lets you destroy an aura to get a resource. This is basically Blossom of Spring, and I think that you probably could end up playing, like Old Knocker, Blossom of Spring, or whatever. The only thing is that I think it's kind of powerful if you draw Arcane Cussing, but I think that this is a maybe, and if you want to play another chess piece or even a headpiece like the Blade Beckoners and just have an extra 2 health, totally fine. So when we get into the actual list, we kind of have to think about what we want. So we need rune chant generators because we have these cards in the deck that have Rune Gate. The way that this works is that if you have a Rune Gate card in your banish and you have enough rune chants equal or greater to the cost of the Rune Gate card, you can play it for free from your banish. So for instance, Deathly Wail, if we ever have 3 rune chants on the table and a Deathly Wail in banish, we can play the Deathly Wail for free. So this kind of explains a little bit right about the hero power. So you banish a card and make a rune chant, and that actually helps you set up your rune gate cards while also getting your like secondary resource, which is your rune chant. So because of that, we need to balance the 2 things. We need to have good explosive rune gate cards, and then we need to have rune gate generators. Everything else in between will be kind of fixing some of the issues with the deck, or kind of glue pieces, go again sources, different like powerful, Shadow Runeblade type things. In terms of rune gate cards, the really strong ones are going to be Deathly Wail. So we talked a bit earlier about how losing life yourself is beneficial. So when you look at Deathly Wail, when the combat chain closes, you create rune chant tokens equal to the number of heroes who have lost life this turn. So if you play a Shadow non-attack, take the 1 life, send an unpreventable rune chant at your opponent. When you play Deathly Wail, you're always going to guarantee that you're making 2 rune chants when the combat chain closes, right? That's very relevant because you make 2 rune chants, pass to your opponent. Maybe you block with 3 cards and you keep 1 Deathly Wail in your hand. Start of your turn, you banish your Deathly Wail to Vynnset, you make a rune chant. You're now at 3 rune chants. You get basically like a 1 card 9. You kind of see how like the deck can do very explosive things when it's like staying in its own lane. Obviously, things get off the rails and the deck starts to implode a little bit, so there's some consistency issues. Other strong rune gate cards that we're going to play are going to be Deathly Delight. This just gains this life instead of making rune chants, but costs 1 less. And then we have Phantom Banshee, which is just a raw 3 for 7, so you just get good stats. And then Phantom Wraith is just a 2 for 6. The 2 costs are the easiest ones to play because, for instance, if you do something like Flail of Agony, they let it connect. Because they're not going to block with a whole card on a 1 attack, you make a rune chant, you go to your turn, you just banish 1 card from your hand. Very simple to get the 2 costs out. The 3 costs involve a little bit more legwork, but they're very powerful, so we're still playing them. Of course, I think Deathly Wail is probably the best one in the deck. So other ways that we can get rune chants, very easy. We have Runeblood Incantation. This just makes a rune chant at the start of every single turn for a few turns. We have Envelop in Darkness. This also makes a Rune Chant token. We have Malefic, so if you play an attack during your turn, you'll always end with 1 extra Rune Chant. We have Reduce, a D-React that makes a Rune Chant. We have Read the Runes, which makes 3. This kind of lets you, sculpt some more powerful stuff. We have Arcane Cussing, which, like I said, can be comboed with the chess piece. So you can just play it and then pop it, get a resource, and then immediately get the 3 Rune Chants. And we also have like blue Spellblade Assault is just like a good turn 1 setup if you're forced to go first and you put a Rune Gate card in your banish, you play a Spellblade Assault, make 2 and pass, it's perfectly fine. You also have Mauvrian Skies, but it lets you have like these explosive combo turns where you can play like 2 or 3 Rune Gate cards in a single turn, while also coincidentally kind of being Rune Chant generation. So you'll have very explosive combo turns where if something connects with the Mauvrian Skies, you'll just get the Rune Chants and then you can immediately play another card that has Rune Gate from your banish. You can get some really powerful stuff going on. And then other glue pieces are just going to be cards like Beseech. This just converts as a 0 for 3, but it can trigger Vynnset's ability, which is also very good. And you just have a blue Vexing Malice just to close out the game if you need it. Most people only run Arcane Barrier 1, so Vexing Malice means that if they ever go low enough, they're just guaranteed dead to Vexing Malice if you're ever worried about fatigue or just closing the game out. We'll jump into some games, that way you can see how I would play the deck. We're playing into KO here. Want to hold on to the Besiege, but maybe it's okay to block, but I'm gonna hedge on this just because this deck has some brick problems sometimes, so the chance that we maybe whiff and draw, like end up drawing 3 more attacks and then actually doing like next to nothing, I think there's like a cost analysis here, and I think it's higher risk for me to just block with it, right? Yeah, because like we could have got some absolute nonsense like this, and then all of a sudden it gets a lot worse. So unfortunately we do have to pop the Rune Chant, and then we also I think have to crack our Ebon Folds, just dig for an answer. Ended up not getting it, unfortunately. We have a bit of a setup for next turn, but this is not very good, that's for sure. And my opponent can crack Bean Trackers, and we can get put really far behind on tempo, honestly. We'll see if they take the action point. Yeah, it makes total sense. They can go claw cards super easily. I'm trying to think about what our line is next turn. It's going to be probably banishing Phantom, playing Malefic, playing the Mauve Skies. Looks like it's just another Bare Fangs. I mean, it's a ton of damage. It's so much damage, but I don't know what else we're supposed to do. So we'll go ahead and we'll lose this, and then let's figure out our play lines here. So we're gonna go Malefic, and we can end up cracking the chests for Suede Hides, but I don't think we're gonna be able to make all of the Rune Chants, but maybe it's possible. Let's think about this really quick. So if we lose a life here, we're gonna make 2 Rune Chants when this closes, and then we'll go ahead and we'll send the Whale, although we forgot. Okay, so we play Mauve Skies here. Let me send the Whale. If this hits, I think we get to send mostly everything here, except this will close the chain actually. So that's kind of awkward. I think we still get to send everything. All right, so my opponent scoops. I think we accidentally stole lethal off of that line. So let me go through the math really quick. So, oh right, because they were just dead to Arcane. So what's interesting is that the line here would be we make the Rune Chants. We crack the chess piece for the resource, and then the Suede Hides are going to give the Deathly Whale go again. We play the Deathly Whale, we then close the chain, and we make 2 more Rune Chants, and we send the Phantom Wraith as well. So we end up triple Rune Gating that turn. Someone can correct me if this is off, but I'm pretty sure that this is exactly how this functioned. We would triple Rune Gate this turn, so we basically comboed off. So kind of crazy that we pulled that one out. We'll jump into another game. We're playing an Alexi here, and we're on the play. I think what we're just going to simply do is we're just going to set up a Rune Gate on turn 1. We're just going to play our Incantation. This is definitely a good turn 1 to have. We end up taking 1 damage, but I think that our follow-up turn is going to be good enough. It'll probably make up for the fact that we're going to take the 1. And it looks like that they're going to use the Honing Hood on turn 1. I mean, that makes sense. It's a pretty aggressive version. We could think about sending the Flail here, but I think they're just going to block it, and then we lose our Rune Chant. So we're just going to hope that we live through their turn 1. So, welcome to Project Blue. Nimblism with the quick clicks is already kind of a bad sign. We may end up having to full block here. We ideally would want to keep 1 card. That way we can... actually, we only need to keep the 1 card, actually, because of the Incantation. So we can block like this, and then reduce it. I guess I'm worried about lightning press, but they haven't shown any way to give it go again. So I'm not actually really sure what the plan is for my opponent. If they plan to, oh, Razor. Okay, well, I mean, that's pretty good. I guess we'll still play the reduce here to get our rune chant. But that's going to connect. They're going to draw a card, and this is going to go again. So now they're using clicks. So next card is going to go again. It looks like it's Nimby, and we'll see if they go get a red or... Okay, they're getting a red. I see no reason to block this, considering that whatever they're going to play after is probably going to be more important to block. Although if it is Snatch, we really can't stop it. We're probably just going to eat all of it, depending on what the card is. It's Entwine Lightning, so at least there's no on-hit connected to this. At this point, yeah, we seem to block. We have the incantation regardless, so we're perfectly fine blocking out. We dodged the Vynnset start of turn trigger, so we don't lose a card, and then we're able just to play the Deathly Delight. Our opponent has 0 AB, so we're always guaranteed to at least gain 1 life off of this. My opponent's always going to be taking the Rune Chance. I kind of wish that we maybe actually got to like Ebonfold on turn 1, and that way we could have like used the Mauvrian Skies on this turn and like potentially double Rune Gated, because I feel like we're just going to die. So doesn't seem great, but we'll see. This is not a hand that can double Rune Gate. It is a hand that can still block out though, and just play the Phantom Wraith is just a 1-card play. So the incantation's definitely doing a lot to help our resources here. They're going to open up with Crescendo, showing Skizix. I'm just not going to block this until we see more, damage hit the chain, basically. I'm assuming we're blocking with most of these cards regardless, so I might as well wait to see a little bit more. Before go again, we might as well block this. And then they're going to play Snatch. It's not great. We're going to go ahead and block for 4. I feel like they probably have a Press or a Razor. Okay, it turns out that they don't, so I guess we get a little bit lucky here. Our turn is just going to be, dropping the Wraith to the Vynnset trigger, getting our Rune Chant off of Incantation, so we're going to get our 2-card play. Definitely pretty sick. We could use Mauvrian Skies and just threaten to push the damage here. It's kind of weird. Obviously we'd want to use this for like a double Rune Gate turn. I just, don't exactly know when we're going to get the option to do that, given how this game has been progressing. If we do this line, we pressure, what is this, 8, 11, 12. It does technically present lethal. So I guess what the logical thing we should do is we should play the Mauvrian Skies here. I think if my opponent has 0 reason to block with us at 6, and then with 5 cards, still holding Old Knocker and Bracers, there's like basically 0 incentive for them ever to block. So we might as well at least pressure something that at least demands a card from them. I don't think that makes us live. We at least have to make my opponent have some kind of game into us. Mauvrian Skies is going to connect. What's awkward though for my opponent is that they just lost the game, because now we just pop the Rune Hold and we go to 4 Rune Chants and we steal the game for no reason unless they have a life gain card. So I guess that goes to show on equal sides of the table, make sure you're always paying attention to your opponent's future lines, because I think we just unfortunately just kind of got away with murder. So maybe not the best example game, but I guess we'll run with it.